Good morning. We are on lesson 25, and before we get started, we're going to watch a little video to just kind of set the stage for what we're doing for this lesson. So what you just saw in this video was the two different people making estimates on how many jelly beans are in a jar and then getting the actual value. So A and B there. And I'm just going to rewind a little so you can see what their estimates were. And I want you to tell me who you think was more accurate, with whatever reason you might have. There's no right or wrong answer. I just want to see your reasoning. So maybe you said that A was more accurate because she was only off by like 8 jelly beans. Maybe you think B is more accurate because even though he's further away, it was a lot bigger number. What we're going to talk about is percent error and how we can use that to determine accuracy. So you should have the alternate version of this. If you've gotten this far and haven't asked for it yet, that's okay. Make sure you ask for it so you're using the alternate version. We're gonna go ahead and skip number one. This works better if we were doing this whole group. So we're gonna skip number one and scroll on down to number two. So number two, we have three different cities, three different pairs of cities. So Topeka, Kansas to Tallahassee, Florida, Lansing, Michigan to Phoenix, Arizona, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Annapolis, Maryland. And it wants you to make estimates of how far each of them are. I've already made an estimate for Topeka to Tallahassee. That's this first one. Go ahead, do Lansing to Phoenix, Harrisburg to Annapolis. Make an estimate yourself. Once you have those, I'm going to talk you through the process for Topeka to Tallahassee, and then you will do those on your own for Lansing to Phoenix and Harrisburg to Annapolis. So I've given you the actual distance here. So I estimated it's about 750 miles, but it's actually 878 miles. So the first thing you need to do is calculate the distance. So to do distance, you're going to do the estimate, whatever you estimated, minus the actual distance. So I've done that here, 750 minus 878, which gives us negative 128. Going in this column on our table, negative 128 is our difference. And then the absolute error is going to be the absolute value of that difference. So if you don't remember, absolute value is the distance any number is from zero, and it's always a positive number. So in this case, we're taking the absolute value of the difference. The difference was, of course, negative 128. If we take the absolute value of that, it's a positive 128. So that's what it looks like for Topeka to Tallahassee with the estimate that I made. using the estimates you made for Lansing to Phoenix and Harrisburg to Annapolis, and these are the actual distances, go ahead and figure out the difference and the absolute error. If you can't read my handwriting, this is 1,619 and this is 91 miles. Once you have gotten that, once you have figured out filled out this table, showing, of course, your work down here in B and C, raise your hand and we can check how you've done so far. All right, number 3, now we're going to do percent error. So this is what the lesson is about. Right now, we've just talked about the difference. So how far off are you from the actual answer? Percent error is going to then look at that and analyze how far off you are compared to the actual value. So for this one, we're going to do Salt Lake City, Utah to Springfield, Illinois. Before you go any further, I need you to write down your estimate between the two capitals. How far do you think it is from Salt Lake City to Springfield? So I'm going to go ahead and talk you through doing percent error for Sacramento to Baton Rouge. So that was that picture all the way up here at the beginning on page 1, Sacramento, California to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So here's my estimate. I think it's about 2,000 miles from Sacramento, which is over here, to Baton Rouge, which is over here. The actual distance is 1,807 miles. So I was off. I was a little too high. So our difference here is the estimate minus the actual. The absolute error is then the absolute value of that difference. And then the percent error is going to be the absolute error divided by the actual value times 100. So working through those, estimate minus actual, that's going to be 2,000 minus 1,807, which gives us 193 miles. That's how inaccurate I was. That's how far off I was. The absolute value of that difference is going to stay the same. It's already positive, so 193. And then percent error, we're going to do the absolute error, so 193, divided by the actual value, so 1,807, and then multiply by 100, so we get a percent. That's going to be 107 thousandths times 100, which gives us 10.7%, 11%. So I'm going to say for my answer, my percent error is 11%. So that's how far I was off. And even though I was off by like almost 200 miles, because the actual distance is so far, that's only 11%. If we compare that up here to my estimate for Topeka to Tallahassee, I was off by about 128 miles. So my absolute error was much lower, but the actual distance was also lower. So if I wanted to do my percent error, 128, that absolute error divided by 878, the actual distance times 100, I get 15%. So even though my absolute error was lower, my percent error is higher because the actual distance is lower. So you are now on your own, number 5. You are going to use your estimate from number 3. So whatever you thought the distance between Salt Lake City and Springfield was. And the actual distance is 1,174 miles. You are going to use this formula, estimate minus actual, the absolute value of the estimate minus the actual divided by the actual times 100 to figure out your percent error. And on your own, you're going to do number 6. You're going to skip number 7. And then you're going to do number 8 on your own. Once you have that done, get your notes checked, and then you are ready to do the exit ticket. Get your notes checked first, though.